Good morning, I'm Maiki Oreta, and this is Business 360, from markets to policy, from Manila to the world. We cut through the noise so you can navigate, adapt, and lead in a changing economy. An insider from a former infrastructure watchdog warns corruption in government is hard to undo, raising fresh questions about accountability at the very top. ASEAN 2026 is fast approaching, and business leaders say the summit could become a make-or-break moment for long-delayed socio-economic reforms. 5 powerful joint ventures are battling for a high-stakes government mandate to design the transport master plan that could shape the Philippines for decades. S&P Global sounds the alarm, warning that tougher regulation could slow growth in the gaming industry this year. The AI boom is sparking a global memory chip crunch, and analysts say that the cost could hit power bills and electronics prices next. The Philippine economy is showing mixed signals as we head into 2026. But we don't have the fourth quarter and full year 2025 GDP data yet, but it's going to be out any moment. While growth continues, many Filipinos and businesses still feel our economy is heavy due to job quality, prices, and governance pressures. Crucial issues like electronic reforms, digital governance, and platform accountability will be key for restoring confidence and signaling transparency and justice. Joining us now to break down what all of this means, all of these pressure points mean for the country and the businesses in it, is Senator Risa Hontiveros, the chair of the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation. Good morning, Senator Risa Hontiveros. Thank you for being here with us.
Maiki. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, always good to hear from you, ma'am. Okay, I want to ask you, every year is difficult. Every year has its own pressure points. But what is materially difficult about 2026 from your perspective, given all the pressures that we have in front of us?
Well, speaking of difficult, 2025 was so tough. But what's materially different, I think, about 2026 is that hindi nag-dissipate yung mga energies and yung mga pag-iisip about the issues that really burst out in big proportions with price tags on them regarding the flood control scam and other corruption issues in general. Tumawid yung energy na ito, Ms. Maiki, to the new year.
Yeah.
It didn't dissipate, di ba, nung Pasko, even with the traditional joy of Filipinos about Christmas time. So ngayon, dama ko yung galit pa rin ng tao, at higit doon, yung expectation nila that truth will be revealed and that accountability will be exacted, that the processes that have been set in motion last year ay magpapatuloy at magbubunga, no, ng accountability and then reforms moving forward, especially on the corruption issues.
That's right, Senator Risa. Tumawid yung energy from 2025. Hindi lang yung energy, pati yung mga issues, di ba?
Yes.
We still carry them with us today.
Definitely.
So I wanted to ask you, Senator Risa, business leaders say that the flood control controversy now hinges on accountability and justice. Where are we on both fronts, accountability and justice, as the energy and as the issues have in your words, tumawid to 2026?
Well, dito sa Senate, nagpapatuloy yung Senate Blue Ribbon Committee investigation in the same spirit as the House also conducted their earlier investigation. And we're just waiting for ano yung magiging final word ng Independent Commission on Infrastructure, if they're going to wrap up, and ano yung final report that they will be giving to the public. Pero definitely sa Senado, nagpapatuloy kami. And even if and when finally the Senate Blue Ribbon wraps up our investigation, as the Senate, we will continue to file resolutions on other corruption issues on other departments and agencies and government that we've been receiving continuously information also need to be investigated and also need to be corrected in terms of the transparent and accountable use of funds of taxpayers' money.
In terms of timeline, Senator Hontiveros, when do you think the Blue Ribbon Committee is going to be wrapping up with this?
I don't know yet. I'm also waiting to hear the advice of our chair, Senator Ping, as to what that timetable will be. And in any case, ngayon pa lang, ang dami nang lumalabas na findings at naniniwala ko, rekomendasyon na pwede namin gawin. And as I mentioned, anything emerging from the Blue Ribbon investigation na gusto pa naming palawigin, for example, in terms of the super barangay health centers mentioned by the Department of Health, in terms of the different scholarship programs and subsidy programs mentioned by the Department of Education, pwede namin ipagpatuloy yan sa iba't iba pang mga Senate committees. And in any case, Ms. Maiki, the case build-ups have continued parallel to our investigations. Cases have been filed, and we know that once these are taken up in the courts, in the judiciary branch, we can't tell what the timetable will be. Pero pag tinake cognizance of ng mga korte yung mga kasong ito, malamang sa hindi, no, magbubunga ng some findings that we all pray, no, will deliver more truth and more justice for our people.
Yeah, we are looking for that. More truth and more justice. But looking at this proactively, we've got cases building up, investigations left and right. I guess stepping back a bit, we want to understand where, where the system actually breaks in terms of procurement and leakages, because it costs us growth. Growth in the third quarter of 2025 came in at a shocking 4%. We're going to have GDP data out today that's going to give us the Q4 picture and the full year 2025 picture. And it's going to show us a slowdown. We expect that. So we want to plug the choke points or get to the heart of the matter so that we're not bogged down, so that the senators, Congress can move forward with everything else that we need to do. If you could fix one choke point for 2026, ma'am, what would that be?
But unfortunately, all of the above. But you have put your finger on the main issue. Hindi lang ito tungkol sa mga personalities, hindi lang ito tungkol sa mga separate allegations of corruption. Systemic talaga yung naging at nananatiling problema natin. And therefore, our solutions have to be a package of solutions, hindi one-off lamang. You mentioned, for example, procurement. We have in hand the new amended procurement law. Dapat i-maximize natin yan to make more or everyone at the table an honest broker, no, whether it is a government department or agency procuring goods and services, or yung mga other public or private sector offerers of these goods and services. Dapat lahat susunod sa mga panuntunan in terms of procurement. I think a very significant starting point for reforms moving forward, a package of solutions, was begun by us in Congress in the, I believe, improved process of budget making. And therefore, though still imperfect, I believe a better budget we were able to pass last year for this year, 2026, with funds being moved from an admittedly by DPWH overpriced budget to more in the Department of Health, in the NDRRMC for disaster preparedness and response. I think we have to push the envelope even further on that. Budget making that is more transparent and accountable, because it takes heed also of the lessons of the investigations on corruption so far. And as you mentioned, nagulat tayo, no, sa mababa na GDP figures for third quarter last year, and we're bracing for the projections for this year 2026. We too in government are waiting also for advice, aside from government's economic managers, from our private sector partners. Paano nila nakikita we can make up for the drop last year, and how can we move forward in a calculated way, given what funds government has, given what borrowing is advisable, if any, to what degree, balansehin yung iba't ibang factors na ito to strive for even a modest but at least beginning recovery next year as a stepping stone for the following years.
Yeah, we're looking forward to putting all of that in place so that we can, make up for the gaps, the growth gaps. Moving forward, you're the chair of the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms, ma'am. What do you think is one change that needs to happen? What is that single change that needs to happen before the next election cycle to reduce abuse, loopholes, and impunity in our system?
I was actually going to mention two, Ms. Maiki, the second being the party list system reforms bill. But if you're asking just for the very first urgent, I would say it's the Contra Dinastia, the anti-political dynasty bills. Dynasties have long been tagged for inciting economic inequalities and corruption. They figured also in some of the findings in the flood control scam investigation. And really, if we finally follow the command of the 1987 Constitution, so 4 decades ago, and pass an anti-dynasty bill, wow, Ms. Mikey, that will be a game changer nationally and locally and even in the party list system. Bakit? It will finally officially open up the political space for more Filipinos to participate, to serve, and to hold those of us serving in government to higher account. And alam naman natin, yung mga reformas sa politika sa ating bansa, they also redound to economic reforms and progress. If, as I said earlier, dynasties often would equal economic inequality and corruption, then the counter-argument could be made na mas maraming Pilipino, hindi lang yung mga dinastiya, nakakalahok sa politika at governance, should open the way for greater economic development and sharing of the fruits of that greater wealth of our economy, at saka more transparency and accountability, which means pesos saved, more pesos we can reinvest in development.
Yeah, wealth, power, accountability. Of course, these dynasties perpetuate inequality and they hold power and influence. So we've got 20 anti-dynasty bills in the House that have yet to be consolidated. And when you look at it, some are called anti-dynasty, but critics say that why call it anti-dynasty when it just legitimizes dynasties? I guess where I'm getting at, Senator Risa, is we need to ask you, what should we consider an honest anti-dynasty in the first place?
Well, my own bill in the Senate and Akabayan's bill in the House actually is pitching for anti-dynastic prohibitions up to the 4th degree of consanguinity and affinity. Other bills would range from maybe 1st to 2nd to 3rd degree of consanguinity and affinity. Kung makapagbuo lang kami ng consensus, Ms. Maiki, o kahit compromise, start at a decent place, 3rd degree, even 2nd degree of consanguinity, pero mahigpit, no, to hold dynastic relatives to erect a bar before dynastic relatives in similar national positions or local government positions, or between national and party list positions or local and party list positions. As long as we can pass a law that will really start to make a difference in the political landscape, will really raise a bar against dynasties somewhere that is meaningful, pwede nang pagsimulan yan. And as I mentioned earlier, I think it will be a game changer if we can pass a law about 4th, 3rd, even 2nd, pero meaningful degrees of consanguinity. I think we will see changes already in the filing of certificates of candidacy, the campaigns, and hopefully the electoral results starting 2028 moving forward. And of course, future Congresses can always improve on whatever first anti-dynasty law we can pass this time around.
On that, similarly, COMELEC Chair George Garcia says that one bill is not enough. What do you think?
Yes.
What do you think about this?
Yeah, I welcome that. Parang medyo prophetic yung sinabi niyo ni Chair Garcia. Dahil yun na nga, kung as legislation is always the art of consensus and compromise, kung hindi, for example, kung hindi ko at hindi ng akbayan makuha yung desired bill namin to the fourth degree of consanguinity, but if we can make an impactful first step forward, then definitely more bills need to be filed in the future. But at least may pagsisimulan
Yeah.
na sila,
Start
no?
somewhere.
Mhm.
Okay.
Start somewhere.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, moving forward, let's talk about counterfeit medicines and, because it's a business grade trust risk. You've pushed for
Yes.
legislation against counterfeit pharmaceutical products online. Why is this not just a health issue, but a consumer trust and governance issue too?
Oh, definitely it's a public health issue, but all of those other concerns you mentioned, Ms. Maiki, lumabas sa hearing, FDA tossed the ball to the PNP and the NBI and the social media and the selling platforms, pero sila in turn, or rather, ibinalik nila sa FDA yung primary responsibility. And I do agree with them, pero sinabi din ng FDA kulang daw sila sa personnel. Well, they're submitting their 5-year development plan, including their human resources. I think if government can respond in great part to supporting that plan, dapat mabawasan o mawalan na ng pagdadahilan ng FDA for example, still not bringing anyone to jail for the many fake, counterfeit, and unregulated products. But the hearing also called the attention of our law enforcement agencies and those internet platforms. They too have to do more to intercept importations and smuggling of those goods on the part of law enforcement authorities at dun naman sa mga internet platforms na to implement the protocols they say they have in place and put more in place. For example, by next week, Ms. Maiki, inaasahan namin magsasabit na sila ng listahan ng mga non-FDA approved products which are actually already being offered and sold and payments received for on their platforms. And moving forward, we expect them to cease and desist from even uploading in the first place yung ganyang mga produkto. So it is, as you pointed out earlier, it is all of these together. So it's another one of those whole of government approach situations.
Yeah, we definitely need a whole of government approach for everything. Senator Hontiveros, we
Yes.
have the latest GDP figures. The PSA just released them.
Okay.
Okay. So here it is. Q4 GDP grew by just 3%. This
Oh my
brings,
gosh.
oh my gosh,
Wow.
just 3% from 4% in
Wow.
Q3. I mean, we were shocked already at the
Yes.
Q3 figures at 4%. This is a full percentage point lower in Q4. This
Yeah.
is below anyone's expectations.
Yes.
Moody's saw Q4 GDP at 5.3%. Nomura, which was at the lower end, low na nga at 3.8. Di nila naasahan
Grabe.
na babagsak to 3%. This brings our full year 2025 picture to 4.4%. And this is now. Who knows if there's going to be a downward revision in the coming months. But I mean, I guess, what do you think our economy is saying with these figures? Bumagsak na tayo sa 3% growth. Still growth, but it
Yeah,
ain't
still.
great. What is your reaction to these figures, Senator Hontiveros?
I think yung sinasabi ng mga figures na yan sa atin, Ms. Mikey, is that corruption is really a millstone around the neck. Not just of government, but of the economy. Kitang-kita natin yung epektong iyan ng mga perang binulsa at sinayang. Kitang-kita natin yung epekto in terms of the confidence of people, including domestic and foreign investors in the face of corruption. And I think the figures are a warning sign to us na talagang naghihintay pa ang iba't ibang economic stakeholders, small, medium, and large, domestic and foreign, for a complete a picture as possible of the true story of what has been happening on the corruption front. And yes, accountability, justice to start being done in the face of these. They're not just, corruption isn't just a political crime, it's an economic crime. At kita natin yon sa mga bilang na yan. Those aren't just figures on paper, aapektuhan talaga yung ating mga kababayan on the day-to-day. So really, people are holding our breath for transparency, for accountability, and yes, for economic relief and recovery.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to bring up, as the next election cycle nears, truth is so important. But when disinformation shapes public perception, it's hard to distinguish the good guys from the bad guys running in politics. Who do you think should be held accountable? I'm talking about platform accountability here to help us, make better decisions come our elections.
Oh, I think each and every platform, Ms. Mikey, that's making money out of their internet operations anyway, need to be more uh, and almost, if possible, completely accountable to identify, to stop, to flag, and to penalize, to deny the use of their space, their platform to these malign actors, including foreign influence. Totoo ang hirap, hindi lang sa usapin ng West Philippine Sea, pero pati, as you mentioned, yung mga eleksyon natin. And we've seen this
Yeah.
scary experience in other countries, and we wonder if it has already happened to us before, pero sigurado ngayon pa lang kitang-kita natin yung kakulangan talaga ng transparency and accountability, hindi lang ng mga internet platforms pero yung iba't ibang actors dyan. So this is a big task for us, whether in terms of national sovereignty and national security, and also in terms of gawin naman nating makatotohanan yung electoral and political exercises para sa ating mga kababayan.
Yeah, okay. Now you mentioned, Senator Hontiveros, the South China Sea. I want to ask you about on the Chinese embassy's public statements criticizing Filipino lawmakers. What was the line that was crossed here, and what makes this different from a normal diplomatic disagreement?
Oh, diplomatic disagreements are definitely normal, and these have come about not just between the Philippines and China, but the Philippines and other countries on a wide array of issues. Pero in those instances, more often than not, inoobserbahan ng mga embassies na iyon, ng mga ambassadors na iyon, ng mga spokespersons na iyon, yung Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, and particularly section or article 41, na dapat hindi sila nakikialam sa internal matters ng host country nila. And if they have questions, complaints, objections, as they normally will from time to time, idaan nila sa proper channels, which are their counterpart, which is our Department of Foreign Affairs. The line they crossed here, hindi lang 9-dash line nila, the line they crossed here was that they attacked Philippine officials, people like Coast Guard Commodore Tariela, representatives like Representatives Chell, Laila, and senators like Senators Kiko, Erwin, and me, for example. And talagang ang behavior ng Chinese embassy so far sa internet space, I mean, sabi ko, nagbiro nga ako, wow, mas marami pa akong landing sa Facebook page ng Chinese Embassy Manila kesa pa sa inyo, sa mainstream media.
Yeah.
So, nagmukhang operation ang ginawa nila. They were replying and replying and replying to my posts about these issues until the evening. So, sabi ko nga, ano ba to? Facebook page ba to ng isang embassy o ng isang troll army?
Yeah.
So, it's really a red line that has been crossed, and I really appreciate yung positions taken by the Department of the Department of National Defense, the National Security Council, and yes, the Department of Foreign Affairs in their public statements so far, calling the attention of the Chinese ambassador and spokespersons.
Yeah, the Senate is condemning the Chinese embassy's public statements, and
Yes.
this is important because it speaks of foreign interference in domestic political discourse, which there are
Yes.
hard lines here. What do you expect from the Chinese embassy moving forward to rectify this, and how do we do it in a way while protecting institutions and at the same time not going into a downward diplomatic spiral?
Oh, by all means, no more going downward in that in a diplomatic spiral, because it's been quite negative in the past several years, I'd say the past decade. And I think the executive has been clear to express that it is taking that stand on behalf of national interest while remaining open and trying to explore areas of common interest, including in trade, which I think remains very important. Kahit yung ibang mga bansa sa palibot ng South China Sea na claimant countries din like Vietnam, Indonesia, Brunei, and others, nakikipagdebate din sila sa China and more. Pero they still maintain trade relations and others. And I think that's something that we can explore. Pero non-negotiable talaga yung usapin ng national sovereignty. We can't trade sovereignty for anything else. We have to have both. We have our sovereignty and we relate with China and other countries in economic and other matters. I don't know what to expect from them right now, Miss Maiki. Kasi akala ko nung unang tumuto lang kami, medyo mag-a-adjust na sila ng konti kahit sa tono. As of yesterday, hindi pa rin eh. Tuloy-tuloy pa rin. So, lumalalim yung disappointment ko. Pero on our part, sa Senado, and I don't know what the executive will say, pero on our part, sa Senado, we will continue to uphold the national sovereignty in every diplomatic and political way that we can.
Yeah, not just with regard to the 9-dash line. Okay, moving on. We've got so much to tackle, Senator Hontiveros. I want to ask you about conflict of interest. This goes to the public allegation from former Buhay Party List Representative Lito Atienza, claiming that Senator Lauren Legarda used her influence in Congress to help her son Leandro Leviste secure a franchise for Solar para sa Bayan. I know you're not too familiar with the matter, but it's an allegation that raises questions about conflict of interest and influence and credibility. Do you think that this issue warrants institutional scrutiny? And also, even if no law was broken here, what about ethical standards?
Well, I am very interested in energy issues, Ms. Maiki. So kahit anumang usapin tungkol sa prangkisa o kontrata which affect murang kuryenteng pangarap ng mga Pilipinong pamilya, yung reliable supply of energy, and syempre yung napaka-importanting larangan ng renewable energies, of course, could be open to congressional inquiry at any time. But as to the particular statement made by Representative Atienza, wala po akong personal knowledge dyan. And I am sure that my colleague in the majority, Senator Lauren, can very well and satisfactorily address that matter.
Okay, Senator Risa Hontiveros, maraming salamat for your
Maraming
time
salamat
this morning
din.
and helping us, just understand what's going on a little more deeply. Thank you, ma'am.
Very welcome. Ingat.
And we have this just in. Philippine economic growth slowed to 3% in the fourth quarter of 2025. Data from the Philippine Statistics Authority shows that this is lower than the 3.9% growth recorded in the third quarter of 2025. Now, this brings full year 2025 GDP growth to 4.4%, lower than the 5.7% growth in 2024. The top contributors to the fourth quarter year-on-year GDP were wholesale and retail trade, including the repair of motor vehicles and motorcycles at 4.6%, financial and insurance activities at 5.6%, and public administration and defense, including compulsory social security, at 7.9%. We're going to be taking a quick break. More business stories and the signals behind them when Business 360 returns. Welcome back. The government is asking Filipinos and businesses to pay more taxes over the next 6 years, even as it braces for slower growth and weaker confidence over the near term. The Development Budget Coordination Committee, or DBCC, is projecting 9% annual growth in tax revenues through 2030, even as it assumes weaker than expected economic growth in the years ahead. The DBCC says that the government plans to generate 6.1 trillion pesos in total revenues by 2030, including non-tax sources. If achieved, that would mark a 50.11% increase from the 4.42 trillion pesos collected in 2024. These assumptions were laid out during the DBCC's December meeting, the same meeting that downgraded the Philippines' growth outlook through to 2027. The economy continues to face headwinds from slower government spending and a hit to confidence following the flood control corruption scandal. The government has now lowered its GDP target to 5 to 6% this year, down from the previous 6 to 7% range. For 2027, it's targeting growth of 5.5 to 6.5%. The question now is whether stronger tax collection can be delivered without choking demand and whether confidence, not just revenue targets, can be restored. In other news, as the Philippines prepares to take the ASEAN chairmanship this year, business leaders say that the moment must go beyond ceremony and deliver real economic results. Victor Lim, the president of the Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry, Incorporated, says that the 2026 ASEAN Summit must turn diplomacy into tangible gains from tourism and investment to exports, manufacturing, agriculture, and infrastructure. The group is set to host the ASEAN Chinese Business Leaders Summit, positioning the Philippines as a more competitive and attractive destination for capital. Lim calls for disciplined, coordinated, and reform-driven action across the government, across business and civil society, warning that without execution, the opportunity of ASEAN 2026 could quickly slip away. Now, the government is moving to reset how the Philippines plans, funds, and builds its transport infrastructure for the next 3 decades. The Department of Transportation confirms 5 companies have submitted bids to prepare the country's transportation system master plan, which will run until 2055. The Department of Transportation says that the winning consultant will set up a transport data management system, strengthen implementation capabilities across government agencies, and improve long-term infrastructure planning. The project is funded in part by a $44 million loan from the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank and must be completed within 30 months. Bidding companies must have experience with multimodal transport master plans covering road, rail, water, and air transport. Now, how this plan is designed and how well it's executed will shape connectivity, competitiveness, and investment flows well beyond a single administration. As the Philippines races to secure cheaper, cleaner, and more reliable power, the next phase of offshore wind development is moving closer to market. The Department of Energy confirms the next green energy auction for offshore wind could take place by the third quarter, after the Energy Regulatory Commission sets the ceiling price. Energy Undersecretary Giovanni Carlo Bacordo says that the Philippines aims to harness nearly 70 gigawatts of offshore wind capacity, with electricity generation targeted to begin in 2028 as the country works toward 35% renewable power by 2030. Bacordo says grid and port limitations have led to a modest initial installation target of 3.3 gigawatts, with Pambuhan, Camarines Norte, and Santa Clara, Batangas designated as key ports for the industry. Now, the government plans to repurpose Pambuhan Port by the first quarter of 2027, while Santa Clara Port will undergo a feasibility study estimated to cost 3.1 billion pesos. Now, with micro-enterprises making up the vast majority of Philippine businesses, the government is moving to lower the cost of formality and make it easier not just to start a business, but to survive. An exemption from audited financial statements for Philippine micro-enterprises is expected to encourage the creation and formalization of more micro, small, and medium enterprises. Mike Rickerford, chief economist of RCBC, says lower compliance costs and simpler requirements could allow micro-enterprises to play a stronger role in economic activity and job creation. John Paulo Rivera, Senior Research Fellow at the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, says that the policy frees up resources for core operations, improving cash flow, formalization, and business survival rates. George Barcelon, the Chairman Emeritus of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, urges stronger support for training, access to finance, and proper implementation of the Barangay Micro Business Enterprises Act to help micro-enterprises scale up. Now, the real test now is whether lower compliance costs are matched by credit access, skills, and effective enforcement so micro-businesses can grow and not just register. As corruption cases become more complex and allegations more systemic, business leaders are increasingly discussing the role of the private sector in governance and economic reform. SGV and Company country managing partner and former Independent Commission for Infrastructure Commissioner Rosana Fajardo says addressing corruption requires collective action, including stronger participation from the private sector. She says businesses need to be more demanding and more vocal in engagements with the government. Business leader Manuel Pangilinan has also pointed to the red tape, weak institutions, and unclear policy direction as continuing challenges to doing business in the country. Fajardo says corruption has a direct economic cost, diverting public funds, undermining institutions, and slowing national growth. The discussion highlights ongoing debate within the business community on how governance issues impact investment, confidence, and long-term economic performance. The Philippine government is moving to streamline tax administration as it seeks to make compliance easier for both domestic and foreign investors. The Bureau of Internal Revenue has launched the Registered Business Enterprise Taxpayer Service, or RBETS, a one-stop system for registered business enterprises. Specialized officers and express counters are now available in 20 key locations, including Makati, Cebu, and Clark, to help companies complete tax transactions more quickly and more efficiently. The BIR says RBETS is designed to reduce fragmentation in tax administration, ensure more consistent application of tax incentives, and support the government's efforts to attract investment. Finance Secretary Frederick Go says that the program signals the government's commitment to improving the ease of doing business and service delivery for investors. The Philippine economy is slowing as long-standing governance failures come into sharp focus, raising tough questions about project execution, accountability, and confidence. Malacanang says probes into alleged anomalies in flood control projects have exposed delays, disruptions, and weak implementation that have already weighed on growth. Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro says President Marcos is pressing ahead with the investigations even as earthquakes, floods, and storms hit the country. This comes as the Asian Development Bank, the World Bank, and S&P Global and AMRO cut their growth forecasts for 2025 and 2026, citing global uncertainty, tighter financial conditions, and weaker domestic activity. Castro says that the economy still expanded by about 5% in the first 3 quarters of 2025, with inflation remaining under control. She says that the government is now shifting its focus toward investment, job creation, and tourism, adding that the flood control probe is politically sensitive but necessary to fix our systemic failures. Addressing governance gaps now is seen as essential to restoring confidence and laying the groundwork for stronger, more durable growth beginning this year. We're taking a quick break. More on these stories, the stakes, and the signals that matter when Business 360 returns. Welcome back. From payment processors and cloud providers to call centers, logistics firms, and software suppliers, Philippine companies depend on third parties to run daily operations and stay cost competitive in a global market. But that dependence also expands the cyber attack surface, often beyond a company's direct control. Philippine organizations are among the least mature in the Asia-Pacific in terms of implementing third-party cyber risk management, despite growing vulnerability to cyber attacks. In its State of Supply Chain Defense report, U.S. cyber defense firm BlueVoyant says that only 23% of Philippine organizations have an established or optimized TPRM framework, and 100% experienced cyber breaches via third parties in 2025. William O, head of Asia Pacific at BlueVoyant, says companies need stronger foundations and clear executive alignment to manage risks across their third-party ecosystem. Philippine organizations are stepping up investments in cybersecurity, including the use of AI to monitor third-party risks, but challenges remain, from internal resistance to fragmented oversight across teams and partners. For a services-led, digitally connected economy like ours, cybersecurity is no longer just an IT issue, it's a business, operational, and national competitiveness risk. As more Filipinos bank, pay, and verify their identities online, digital fraud is evolving, and fake identities are becoming one of the most dangerous entry points. Philippine organizations are urged to strengthen identity verification, as synthetic accounts could drive a new wave of digital fraud. Domestic Forest Chief Technology Officer at IPROOV says criminals and even nation-state actors can use fake identities to exploit account recovery, password reset processes and new device registration. Force says high-risk sectors such as finance and utilities should consider monthly or quarterly biometric checks, including facial recognition with liveness detection to close security gaps. The Global Anti-Scam Alliance says more than 60% of Filipino adults fall victim to financial scams each year, losing an average of 12,000 pesos per person. As the interest rate cycle turns and borrowing costs begin to edge lower, the banking sector is positioning for the next phase of growth. The Bank of the Philippine Islands is setting its sights higher in 2026, betting that further central bank easing will help revive loan demand and investor activity. BPI's attributable net income rose 0.6% to more than 17.5 billion pesos in the third quarter of 2025. This brings the 9-month profit to 50.48 billion pesos, up 5.21% year-on-year. Amid global tensions and domestic uncertainties, investor sentiment remains cautious. Still, BPI is doubling down on consumer lending, expecting potential rate cuts by the central bank to help reignite borrowing activity. With economic growth slowing and fourth quarter GDP projected at just over percent, banks like BPI are betting that lower rates, not faster growth, will drive the next leg of expansion. Now, as central banks around the world rethink reserve strategies amid geopolitical tensions and currency fragmentation, gold is moving back into focus. In a shifting global economy, it is emerging as a neutral reserve asset, while the Philippines' strategy remains focused on tactical profit-taking. On BNC's Business Brief, market analyst Julian Tarobago Jr. explained that the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas holds more than it strictly needs, highlighting a position of strength, smart portfolio management, and strategic rebalancing.
The ideal range for a developing economy like ours is 8 to 12%. So BSP was actually overweight and used the rally to rebalance. It's classic portfolio management. Compare that to Poland and China, which has been buying for a different strategy. They are buying to reduce dollar dependence. We, the Philippines, already have more gold than we need, so it's selling high to increase flexibility. So it's not a bet against gold, I think, the BSP is making. It's more a tactical profit-taking move from a position of strength.
As regulators move to rein in risks and clean up the industry, the Philippine online gaming sector is feeling the immediate economic impact. Bold gambling reforms are now slowing growth in the Philippine online gaming industry heading into 2026. In the third quarter of 2025, gross gaming revenue slipped to 0.1% to 94.51 billion pesos, according to the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, or PAGCOR. The slowdown follows a series of new regulatory moves, including the central bank's order to disconnect e-wallets from online gambling platforms and President Marcos Jr.'s signing of the Anti-POGO Act. Analysts warn that tougher rules are discouraging clients, changing player behavior, and putting pressure on revenue growth and profitability across the sector. In other news, when election polls approach, campaign strategies get creative and social media takes center stage. A new study reveals that 1,500 social media accounts were covertly involved in the 2022 polls. A study conducted by the University of the Philippines, together with foreign universities, identified nearly 1,500 influencer accounts engaging in under-the-radar political campaigning, with estimated spending of $27 million under a pay-per-post model. The platform's specific findings show this activity spread across YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and X, formerly Twitter, each with distinct strategies and network behaviors. The study underscores the rising influence of social media creators in politics, urging Filipinos to practice moderate and responsible social media use and to be cautious of unverified content and opinion accounts. Now, chasing your dreams just got closer to home. The C family-led National University opens campuses in 7 provincial cities, including Cebu, Bacolod, Laguna, and Lipa. For decades, Filipino students and families faced a tough choice: leave home for Metro Manila to pursue university and career opportunities, or stay local with limited options. By hiring mostly local faculty and staff and situating campuses inside SM malls, NU brings world-class education and jobs closer to hometowns while boosting local economies. The expansion proves that quality education and meaningful careers can thrive in the provinces, helping families stay together while students prepare to compete globally. Now, a familiar name in Philippine banking faces an uncertain future. Liberty Flour Mills, controlled by Bilyonaryo William Carlos Uy, is reviewing its flour operations and other non-core assets. Options include a sale, spin-off, joint venture, or continued investment in the unit. The review follows a 42% drop in first quarter profits to 4.14 million pesos, with weaker sales partly offset by lower wheat prices. The market has grown crowded, now hosting 22 major millers, up from just 8 in the 1960s. Daily operations continue as usual, guided by advisors leading the strategic review. This signals that even legacy industries may need bold restructuring to unlock value and redirect capital toward faster growing sectors. Up next, global markets, what's moving and why. This is Business 360. Welcome back. Tech prices, car costs, and even utility bills are set to soar as the AI boom drives a global memory chip shortage. High bandwidth memory for AI servers is gobbling up supply, leaving laptops, smartphones, and cars more expensive. Samsung reports tripled quarterly profits, and SK Hynix has already sold out its 2026 memory allocation, while smaller tech makers scramble to source chips. Analysts warn that the crunch could last through 2027, and consumers are advised to buy early before prices climb even higher as the AI boom upends the expectation that tech gets cheaper and more powerful over time. Now, the news as extreme weather events become more frequent and more damaging across Asia, including here in the Philippines. Scientists are turning to AI to buy precious time before disaster strikes. Hong Kong scientists have unveiled an AI system that can spot thunderstorms and torrential rain up to 4 hours ahead. The model extends forecast lead time from the current 20 minutes to as much as 2 hours, with updates refreshing every 15 minutes. Published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, the system uses generative AI and satellite data from China's Fengyun 4, improving forecast accuracy by more than 15%. The breakthrough signals a shift from academic research to real-world application, with potential implications for disaster preparedness, infrastructure protection, and flood risk management in typhoon-prone countries like ours. Elsewhere, U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, the world's most powerful central banker, dodges politics and a Justice Department probe while offering blunt advice to his eventual successor at the Fed. At a news conference after the latest policy meeting, Powell urged future Fed leaders to stay out of elected politics while maintaining regular oversight ties with Congress. Powell refused to comment on a Justice Department investigation into Fed headquarters renovation costs or his plans after his term as chair ends in May. He also offered little guidance on the path of future interest rate moves. The Fed held interest rates steady at 3.5 to 3.75% as President Donald Trump considers a successor. Now, here's a quick snapshot of how global markets traded overnight. U.S. markets ended mixed. The Nasdaq ticked higher, led by chip stocks, while the S&P 500 finished flat after the Federal Reserve left interest rates unchanged and offered few signals on where rate cuts could begin. European markets closed lower. London's FTSE 100 slipped as investors rotated into U.S. tech stocks ahead of the Fed's decision. Germany's DAX fell by 0.3%, while France's CAC 40 dropped 1.1%. Now, as currency markets swing and confidence in central bank independence comes under pressure, safe haven flows are surging. Gold breaks above $5,300 an ounce for the first time as the U.S. dollar weakens and concerns over Fed independence drive demand. Spot gold jumped 1.5% after hitting a record $5,311 an ounce, while U.S. gold futures rose more than 3%. The dollar is hovering near four-year lows after President Donald Trump downplayed its weakness and signals the appointment of a new Fed chair, even as the central bank is expected to hold interest rates steady. Gold is now up more than 20% this year, supported by strong retail demand in Asia. Analysts at Deutsche Bank say prices could climb as high as $6,000 an ounce. For the Philippines, one of the world's largest suppliers of nickel, shifts in U.S. critical minerals policy can move markets. The Trump administration is backing away from plans to guarantee minimum prices for U.S. critical minerals projects, signaling a more market-driven approach. Reuters sources say that the move reflects limited congressional funding and the difficulty of setting price floors, marking a reversal from earlier commitments to the industry, as U.S. officials told mining executives that future projects must stand on their own financially without government price support. The shift could influence global pricing, investment flows, and supply chain decisions, with implications for nickel exporting countries like the Philippines. The change does not affect the price floor previously agreed with MP Materials. Let's check on how Asian markets are doing this Thursday morning. Right now, the Nikkei 225 is trading to the downside, lower by 0.2%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index down by as much, down by 0.2%. Shanghai's down index composite down by 0.1%, and Singapore's Straits Times Index down by 0.1% as well. Here at home, taking a look at our market, as of 10:54, the PSE Index is trading to the downside in step with other markets in the Asian region. It is, however, sharply lower. We're down by 1.4% in early trade to 62.66. All shares index is in the red as well, down by 1% to 35.60. Taking a look at all these sub-indices, all are trading to the downside except for the mining and oil counter, which has helped limiting the market's decline right now. Total volume traded is a little thicker than usual at 504 million shares, valued at 1.5 billion pesos. Market breadth is very bearish. We've got 107 decliners against 59 advancers, while 51 stocks are unchanged. Taking a look at the currency front, the peso opened at 58.78 against the dollar, down from its previous close of 58.74. Microsoft co-founder and billionaire philanthropist Bill Gates has donated an additional $2 billion to foundations run by his ex-wife, Melinda French Gates. New filings show the gifts include $982 million each to two of Melinda's pivotal philanthropies foundations, bringing Bill Gates' total contributions to her four foundations to $10.8 billion. The funds support Melinda French Gates' work on women and families as part of her pivotal philanthropic initiatives. Meanwhile, Bill Gates' donations to the original Gates Foundation dropped to $104.7 million in 2024. Together, Bill and Melinda have donated more than $52 billion to charitable causes worldwide, making them among the largest private philanthropists globally. And that's it for Business 360. I'm Maiki Oreta. Thank you for joining us, and keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.